All right. So happy Monday, start of the final marking period, 10 weeks to go. So we are starting the next method of factoring, which is probably the most common method of factoring, where we will have a coefficient in front of the x squared. So all the problems that you factored all of last week were just x squared plus 2x plus 1, or x squared minus 4x plus 5, whatever it happened to be. But it was always just x squared. So now we're going to look at factoring expressions that have a number in front of the x squared. So what happens if I have a 2x squared or a 3x squared or 5x squared? So we will start factoring those groups of problems today. In your notes, we're going to be looking at section 5.4. And today we will work with this method called AC grouping. Tomorrow we'll add an extra little step to it. And the problems we look at will have a greatest common factor as well as a number in front. And then on Thursday, we'll add one more extra step and we'll solve the equation. So adding a little piece each day. You will have a quiz before break, probably next Tuesday. So spring break officially starts on Thursday, but Wednesday is virtual for everybody. So Tuesday next week, there will be a quiz on this section. And then when we come back after break, there's actually one more section of factoring with special patterns. So there are 3 different sections worth of factoring. And then we will have one big factoring test after we've gone through all the different methods of factoring. And we'll get you to recognize what type of problem you have. I have a cute little factoring flow chart so that you can kind of see I have this type of problem, so I need to use this method of factoring. So if you'll take out that packet of notes that you have, we are going to start in section 5.4. Would you like to do the warm-up problem? I'd say maybe just do one of each.
Yep. No problem at all. Everybody a quick second to get those on up. So let's look at the problems on the right-hand column, which are the even problems. We look at the first one. We have a 3 times the quantity x minus 2 times the quantity x 2x minus 1. First, you do the first distributing. So you get 3x 6. Be sure to use that parentheses, and then you have 2x minus 1. And again, this gets you your product of 2 different terms here. So what we're doing is reverse factoring, and that is FOILing. So we use the FOIL method. When you do that, you get 6x squared minus 6x minus 4x plus 6. We combine, and then we want you to notice something on the end here. So when we combine, we get 6x squared minus 15x plus 6. And this is going to help you moving on. Remember, our goal today is going to be to get from this right here to this up there. That's our goal. And if you notice, we use the same rules that we've been doing so far, where your AC is positive and your B is negative. So AC positive means the signs are the same. And then since the B is negative, they're both going to be negative. That's going to help you out today. Same thing. Let's look at number 4. So Michael, what are my signs going to be for number 4? If your AC is an 8, positive 8. Remember, it's only positive negative if their AC is negative. So in this case, it's a positive 8. So that means the signs are the same. Are they both going to be positive or both going to be negative? Yeah, they're both going to be negative. So now we're going to find the factors of 8. A, what are factors of 8? Good. Which of these factors add to give you a negative 9? Yeah, 1 and 8. So we use these, and we know that they're both going to be negative. That's going to give you that negative 9, which is that middle value. So -1, -8, and that's it. So we're going to be, we know how to do number 4, but what we're going to be doing is reversing what we did in 2. Do you remember all factoring is reverse FOILing?
They're called inverse operations.
I like that term.
Yeah, look at that. Inverse operation. So factoring is breaking something down. You're breaking like an original problem down into multiplication. So because you're breaking it down, we're kind of pulling it apart. Foiling is taking those 2 parentheses and like putting it back together. So that's why they're kind of doing opposite operations, inverse operations. So there is a method that we're going to use today, and you'll see that the method that Mr. King did over here is going to be very similar. We're going to use that same process to a certain point, and then it changes a little bit. So we in our math department use the factoring method of AC grouping, and there really are many different ways that you can factor. So we're going to use this AC grouping method. So it still has AC in it. So we're still going to start off by taking A times C. But we're going to be doing some grouping, and I'm going to show you what that grouping part means. So we are going to look at factoring 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. And I'm not going to fill in the A and B and C. I'm just going to write it over here again. So it's on the side of my screen. So the first step, remove any greatest common factor from the equation. That step will be applied tomorrow. But now that I have a number in front of x squared and a number and then a 2, there could be a greatest common factor. All 3 of those numbers could have something in common. They will not today, but they will tomorrow. So we're going to skip step 1 for right now. Step 2 says multiply A times C, and that's what we have been doing, except there is an actual A value, and that A value is 2. So now it is really important to look at your problem, and I draw a bracket connecting A and C. So visually, I'm reminding myself that there is a number there now. So Bill, 2 times 2 is 4. So you're still taking A times C. It's just in every other problem. Up here, the one that Mr. King did, that A was 1. So I still took A times C. It's just it's 1 times 8. So it's still the same method. It's just there's a number in front now. All right, the next step, list all the factors that multiply together to be the AC value. So Bill, what multiplies to be 4? 2 and 2 and 1 and 4. That part's the same. And the last part that's the same, it says determine the values that add together to be B, which is what we've been doing. So this is a positive 4. when it's positive, my signs need to be the same. And it's a positive 5. So are they both going to be plus or are they both going to be minus? Haley, what do you think? They both going to be plus or are they both going to be minus to get a positive 5? So I'm going to put a +1 and a +4. That adds to be 5. Now here's where the process changes. We are going to take this equation and we are going to rewrite it. We're not going to put these numbers into parentheses because the number in front, that 2x squared, has to change the way we factor. So I'm going to keep the 2x squared and I'm going to write it again. I'm going to keep the 2 in the back and I'm going to write it again. And I left a big space in the middle. The space in the middle are for the 2 factors that we are going to use to combine to be 5. And those 2 factors, Haley said, was a +1 and a +4. So next to the 2x squared, I'm going to write, change colors here, +1x. And next to that, I'm going to write +4x. Bill, if you have 1x plus 4x, what does that make? And what did I have in my original problem? Positive 5x. We're just writing it in a different form. So we're still using the factors, but those factors don't go in parentheses anymore. We're going to use those 2 factors to rewrite our b value. Questions? So the last step is to factor by grouping terms together and multiplying or pulling out, not multiplying out, pulling out the greatest common factor, which we got pretty good at doing. So we're going to look at the first 2 numbers, and I just draw a little barrier line. I'm going to draw a little line after that second number. We are going to look at a pair of numbers together, or a pair of terms. That's what they're called. It says group terms together. So we're looking at this pair. What does that pair of terms have in common? What do they have in common? So Michael, what can I pull out of 2x squared plus 1x? What do they both have? A 1. And what else do they both have? An x. So they both have a 1 in common, but they also both have an x. So we have an x squared and an x. They both contain an x. So I'm going to write that x outside, just like we used to with GCF. And we're going to divide both of these by x. And if you want to write a 1 in front, that's fine. You can write the 1 in front. Michael said they had a 1 and an x in front. Michael, when you take that out, you have 2x squared. You're dividing out a 1 and an x. What do you have left over there? Yeah, so the x is canceled, but you still have a +1. So we have 2x plus 1. That's greatest common factor. You take out the GCF and then in parentheses you divide. Let's look at the second pair, the back 2 numbers. Emma, what would 4x and 2 both be divisible by? A positive or a negative? A positive. So we're going to put a +2 back here. And we're going to divide by 2. It's a +2 because this is a +4. So make sure you put a plus there because this is still an equation. We're adding this second part to the first part. Take 4x and divide by 2. What do you get? And when you take 2 and divide it by 2, what do you get? What's 2 divided by 2? I know this is different because we've been factoring with the other form so much. So this does seem a little weird and different right now, but we are almost done. What do you notice about this problem? Look across the expression. There's something that you should see special about this expression. Michael, do you notice anything special?
notice that there's like two like, numbers outside the parentheses.
Yeah, so there are. There's numbers outside of these parentheses, the 1x and the 2. What's happening with the actual parentheses themselves? Haley, what's happening with the parentheses? They're both the same. Look at that. Both parentheses are exactly the same. That's going to happen every single time. So the last step that we are going to do to finish the grouping, Michael said both those parentheses have numbers outside. The first parenthesis has a 1x, the second one has a +2. We're going to group them together in their own parentheses. So I am going to have a 1x + 2 grouped together. You're allowed to do that because they are being multiplied by the same parenthesis. So I can pull them together and put them in their own parentheses. If the parentheses is not the same, then they are not like terms and I cannot do that. The last part of grouping is to take those two separate parentheses that were the same and we're going to pull them together as well as one parenthesis. Because separately, the 1x and the 2 were being multiplied by the same thing. So when I pull them together, they still have to be multiplied by the same thing. So now I have x + 2 and 2x + 1. Once your answer is in parentheses, total parentheses being multiplied together, then it's factored. That's a lot. So I want to show you how this works with using FOIL. And you'll see, you don't have to write the foiling step down, but I'm just going to show you how this is working with FOIL. So if I FOIL, which is the opposite of factoring, Mr. King just did that. I take 1x times 2x, I get 2x squared. Notice right here, there's 2x squared. If I take 1 times 1, 1x times 1, I get 1x. Right here's my 1x. 2 times 2x is 4x. Oh, right there's my 4x. And then 2 times 1 is 2. This is truly the opposite of foiling. So here's my expanded answer that I started with factoring. Here's my foiling answer. So whatever I have here when I FOIL is actually how we split it up when we factor. So they are true opposites of each other. And then when I add, I get back that 5x that I started with. So we are going to work today on doing a couple more examples. It seems different now because it's the first time that you have done it. It will get better. Yes, it's a little longer. No, there's no other like shorter way. The other ways are actually even longer. One of the ways just uses trial and error and you kind of picking different patterns and seeing how those patterns work in the parentheses. So we're going to see if we can practice some problems on the next page. And there's a bunch, like there's a whole bunch of problems, more than we need. Let's start in the middle on B. So the directions say to factor, which means our end result should be a multiplication problem. That's what factoring means. The first step is the same first step that we've been doing, except now there's an A of 3. So we're going to multiply A times C. And again, I'm doing example B. I'm going to start in the middle here. So Jason, 3 times 8 is 24. All right, that's the first step. The second step, list the factors of 24. Again, that first part hasn't changed. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 24 has a lot of numbers. I'm going to make sure that we know that it's supposed to be a positive 24. So when the number is positive at the top, the signs need to be the same or different. So if it's a plus at the top, should my signs be the same or should they be different? They need to be the same. So when you look down your list, we are trying to make a -10. You need to have the same sign, and because it's a -10, they're both going to be minus signs. So looking at your list here, they both need to be minus. Which pair of those numbers make a -10 when they're both minus? Haley? 4 and 6. So a -4 and a -6 make a -10. They both must be minus because it's a plus. So the positive at the top means I have to have two negative signs. All right, here's where it switches a little bit. So we have a 3x squared. And we have an 8. In the middle, we are now going to use the two factors that make a -10. The first factor is a -4. And the second factor is a -6. We're placing an x with them because they now need to make -10x. So -4x minus 6x makes -10x. All right, the next step, we're now going to factor. I place a little line here, but you don't have to. I do that just to visually separate the first two from the last two. We're going to pull out what the first two have in common. So Michael, we have a 3x squared and a -4x. What do they both have in common? Yeah, they both have an x in common. 3 and 4 don't have any number in common, but they both have an x next to them. So we're going to write the x outside. That's our GCF. And then you're going to divide that out. So Michael, 3x squared divided by x is, and then our x is canceled and you're left with -4. Good. Now we're looking at the second part. 6 and 8. What do they both have in common? Yeah, 2. Here's where it switches just a tiny little bit. What's in front of that 6? A negative. So whatever's in front of that 6 is the number that I have to take out. If it's negative, I need to take out a -2. So Bill, -6 divided by -2 is? And 4 divided by 8 divided by -2 is? -4. Bill, are the parentheses the same after we took out the GCF? Yes. Remember, that part has to happen. So the last step, you're going to take the number in front and pull them together in a parenthesis. So x -2. And then you take the parentheses and you pull them together, the parentheses that were the same, you're pulling them together as one parenthesis as well. 3x -4. So the numbers in front squish together, and then the parentheses squish together as well. Questions now that you've seen it 2 times. All right, let's try letter C. It'll get a little better each time we work through it. Haley, how do you start with letter C? Yeah, so A times C. Then we write the factors. This is still a +6, so my signs need to be the same. Every time it's a plus at the top, I need the same signs. -7 in the middle. So Haley, how would I get a -7 from 1 and 6, 2 and 3? Yeah. So both -1 and a -6, same sign. Has to be a minus sign because there's a minus in the middle. All right, who remembers what we do next with those factors? Look to see what we did. Michael, do you remember what we do with those two factors then? Like, how do we use them? Where do they go?
Yeah, put 2x.
So that's the step that then starts to change the factoring. So we're still using those two numbers, but we're writing them out with x's. And now we're going to take the GCF out. So Jason, what would 2x squared and 1x have in common? Yeah. And Jason, 2x squared divided by 1x is? And then my x's cancel here, and we're just left with? How about the second pair, Jason? What do they have in common? And what kind of 3? A positive? Yeah, so they have a -3. Again, it's a -6. So whatever sign is in front of there needs to be the number that you pull out. So Jason, -6x divided by -3 is? 3 divided by -3 makes? Nice job. Awesome. So Bill, if I pull my answers together, what is it going to be? And perfect. Nice. Good. So we're going to do one more in the next group, and then we'll start a couple of those homework problems together. Are there questions on B or C? We went through that one a lot smoother 3 times, kind of getting the feeling of it. All right, let's look at letter A and underneath here. Same directions. Nakai, if I take 4 times -9, what is 4 times -9? Anyone help them out? 4 times -9.
Use old finger system.
-36. Yeah, the 9s have those tricks. So now it's negative at the top. All the other ones were positive. When the negative is at the top, the signs are different. So I should have a plus and a minus sign with my factors. 36 has a bunch of factors. So 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. We need to be a -16. So the difference needs to be 16. Because it's a -16, the bigger one should be negative. So look at your list. Which one of these would make a -16? Emma, do you know how I could get a -16 from my list here? Yeah, 2 positive, 18 negative, different signs. 18 has to be negative because we wanted -16. 2 minus 18 makes -16. So the signs need to be different. Now we're rewriting it. We have 4x squared plus a 2x minus the 18x and then -9. So remember the two numbers that you pick go in your problem with x's because that's how we get a -16. And then take out the GCF. So Haley, what could we take out of 4x squared and 2x? Yeah. Take out a 2x, Haley. What do you have left? Nice job. So the x is canceled. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Haley, what could we take out of the second pair? Perfect. Nice job. It has to be negative because it's a -18. And then Haley, what do you have inside? So -18 divided by -9 is +2. -9 divided by -9 is +1. And then pull them together. So 2x and -9. And then 2x plus 1. You can always do FOIL to help check your work. What do you think? Kind of different. So we have almost 10 minutes left. If you want to go to Google Classroom, it is now working properly. So Google Classroom is fixed. You can edit in Google Classroom. Yay. You can still send a notability, but you can now open Google Classroom and edit your assignments again. God bless you. The assignment literally has just posted. So it is in Google Classroom. First thing in your stream. Give you a minute to pull this up. Oops, that's the wrong one. Here it is. So open up your Google Classroom app. You can edit it directly in that app if you choose to do so. We are going to cross off 8 and 11. So delete 8, there we go, and delete 11. And that gives you 10 problems to do.
Do a couple right now.
Jason, what problem you want me to do first, sir? Seven? You got it. So again, we could bracket off. Whoa, it's a big bracket. We'll go a little bit smaller. I'm not a good bracket guy. There we go. So what is 2 times 27? $54. So now we got to look at factors. And again, that's a positive 54. So we want to look at factors of 54. Jason, what are some factors of 54? Good. 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 So out of these, which of these add to give us that 15 that's in the middle? So again, we're going to look if this is positive and then our B value is positive, then we know AC positive means they're both the same. B value positive means that they're both going to be positive. So it means that all these factors will all be positive. And then Jason, out of these, which one adds to 15? Yeah, 6 and 9. So now we're going to rewrite this our new way. We take our A term, 2x squared. And then in the middle, and then we're putting a 27 on the outside. So we have our AC, because it's the AC method. And now we're going to take our 2 factors that we got from AC, and we're going to add an x to them. So we have a plus 6x, and then a plus 9x. We separate it in half.
Oh, that's smart using the dashed line there.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
I was thinking long and hard all weekend about how can we separate this in a very good way. So now we're going to factor. Jason, what factors out of 2x squared and 6x? And 2x. So we're going to take 2x out. And what do you get when you take the 2x out? It's left over. Yeah. Good. And then Jason, what factors out of the next? Good. And again, that's a positive 9. And then what's left in there? Once you factor out? Do your two factors match in parentheses? Yeah. So what's your final answer? Yeah. 2x plus 9 times x plus 3. Very good job. All right, Bill, why don't you pick one to do with us? Any problem? Whole page. All right, let's do number 2. Bill, what's your A times your C? And again, I'm gonna put the brackets on here. Well, what's two times -3? Yeah. So our AC is gonna give you a -6. So now what are factors of 6, Bill? Good. Now, looking at this sign, we know that one, it goes to a negative. So what do we know about the two signs? That they're going to be the same or different? Opposite. So which one of these has a difference of a +5? You got it. -1, +6. At home, any questions about how we got that -1 and +6? So now we're going to write down our A and our C. So we have 2x squared. We have 3 on the outside. And what will we put in between, Will? Yeah. So we get 2x squared minus 1x plus 6x minus 3. We split right down the middle. That is bad. And now we find our factors. Bill, what's my first factor again? Yeah, you take an x out and you get 2x minus 1. Good. And your second one, what do you get? Yep. Your factors match. So what do you get for your final answer? Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more together. And then we'll come around and answer any questions you may have. Nikai, why don't you pick one for us to do together? Yeah, let's do 12. So I'm going to line up to the best of my ability. A times C. Okay, what do you get when you get AC? What is your AC value? Is that it? Oh my goodness, this one's -15. So you want to find the factors. Or one's positive, one's negative. I was thinking this. I'm losing. Everybody have a great day. Good luck on these. You can do it. We'll answer questions tomorrow. Excellent job.
That was me last week when we were doing that bingo thing. Everyone at home, have a great day.